And once again, welcome to St. John from someone who is not from St. John, at least not as yet. This is St. John Speaks, and it is the second in the series. In other words, it's the second time we're doing St. John, and it is also the second in the series of Parish Speaks since we have started with St. Joseph. Just put housekeeping in place so that you understand and that we run smoothly. At the table, at the back of this line, are two staffers from Prime Minister's office, Alex and Darren. If you are planning on speaking tonight, or if you have a concern, you need to go first to that table and they will take the particulars from you and they'll give you a number. Once you're given that number, you need to come and sit in one of these seats directly in front of me. As long as you're in one of these seats, it means that you have passed them and you are ready to speak. The first person who is there becomes the first person who speaks, etc., until we get down to 9. So this row is for persons who are speaking. Once you've spoken at the mic here, just sit anywhere else under the tent and we'll travel from there. Remember again that every one of these events we've had so far, good Bajan manners has always prevailed. We respect each other's view, even if we don't agree with it. And we're going to do the same thing in St. John tonight. So we're going to have orderly presentations, not to say that you don't have to be robust in your presentation because it is your presentation. But we'll respect each other. We'll hear and we'll give you a chance to speak. So with that, we will turn over first to the MP for St. John, who will greet you, perhaps speak to you a little bit, and then we'll speak the others at the head table, the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, and the Acting Minister of Transport, Works, and Water Resources. They will all speak tonight, and then the floor is open to you. Also in the audience, if you look around, you'll recognize that there are a number of senior government officials, officers, and they are here to respond to you, to explain to you, to hear what your concerns are, so that the persons who have the wherewithal to address your concerns are here to hear you and to act or to react. Okay? So thank you, and I'll turn over now to the MP for St. John, Mr. Charles Griffith. Charles?
Good night. Thank you, Roy. First, I want to welcome back the Prime Minister to the constituency of St. John. This is St. John Speaks 2.0. I'm hoping for a good night. I also acknowledge the Attorney General and the Acting Minister in the Ministry of Works. Tonight, it's an opportunity for you to speak to the Prime Minister to identify some of the issues that are impacting you. Hopefully, as the night progresses, I can share some of the things that are happening within the constituency. But really and truly, tonight is your night to speak to the Prime Minister about what is happening, all of us, that is happening in the constituency of St. John. Now, one of the things that I have been saying all along is that St. John is rising, but you will identify the issues and the problems that are facing you in an intimate way. Thank you.
Okay, then, that's it for now in terms of speeches from the head table. As we said, it's your night. So, number one, the microphone is ahead of you. Go right ahead.
Good night, Madam Prime Minister, Minister of Parliament. Oh, sorry. My name is Deborah Richards. I'm from the Parish of St. John, Coach Hill. Tonight, on my issue, I speak on behalf of myself and parents from the St. John Primary School. We know that we are having environmental issues, and this has been going on for quite some time, for quite a while. 2 days last week, we had teachers on sick outs, allowing the children to go home early. This environmental issue is getting worse. We have teachers, pupils taking sick, falling sick, and this is causing a lot of problems, I would say, as far as the children and their education, because they're missing school. They have a number of children who have been sick, like 2 weeks out of school, 3 weeks out of school, and stuff like that. So we want to find out tonight what is really the plan for St. John Primary School and how soon will it be fixed. We don't need a temporary fix, we need a permanent fix. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Minister of Education and Charles, you want to address this directly? And may I say also that part of the difficulty that we're having too is that the numbers in each of these schools is also significantly declining. But we need to be able to address, and I want the ministry to meet with the parents, but without prejudice to that, I will still ask the minister to speak tonight. Is that fine, ma'am? You've gone, so I can't see where you've gone. You could come up front so we can see in case you have any further engagement. Come, Minister.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Good evening. Well, first of all, I want to say how sad it is whenever there's a situation where children have to miss school. We've missed enough school over the last how many ever years that you really don't want to be missing anymore right now. And it is not only the children, but it's the entire school community that's impacted. The teachers are impacted, the principal, the people who work at the school. And so this is a situation that we have sought to address in very specific ways. There is what we can do right now, is what we've already done. There was remediation at that school as recently as the last 2 consecutive weekends. And I have here with me Mr. Miller, who is from the part of the ministry that deals with maintenance and repairs to school, etc. He has a detailed report. We went everywhere from roof to windows to cupboards to walls to the air that was actually cleaned in certain areas. And we have a short term, like what we have already done, then we have what we will do in the meantime. The intention is that there will be a standard cleaning, industrial cleaning every 3 months, and there will be air quality tests in between, so that if we need to do it more often, that we will do so. But with a view that then there's a longer term plan. Whether or not that will be for us to build a 2-story building on the same premises, or whether it would be to move to a different location. I think what you will understand is that that building is made of a material that tends to attract moisture. And as a result, and that's like a lot of the cobblestone buildings we have around that are part of government's plan generally and of schools in particular. So understand that the particular type of school it is also attracts this problem. But I just want you to know we have already done work. I will let the Mr. Miller explain it in detail. He has the report and he will name every single part we've dealt with. 2, there is an interim maintenance plan to make sure that what we have done over the last little while, that it doesn't slip back. And then we have to look at what we will do in the longer term. And I hope that that will bring you some comfort, and that we will be able to demonstrate to you that we are serious about this. And just so that you are aware, I asked Mr. Miller as well to not only deal with the St. John Primary, but there are other primary schools made of the same material and that we know over time has been having a problem. So we can't just be reactive when we get a complaint. We now have to be more proactive and put a proper plan in place. And currently, Mr. Miller and his team there are working on that as well. So I'm going to hand over to Mr. Miller, and hopefully he'll be shorter than I was.
Yes. Good night, Prime Minister. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Good night, Prime Minister. And I would like to say that the minister. Okay. Yes. I would like to say that we have, over the last 2 weeks, on the 27th, as well as the last time that we did the cleaning was on June the 4th, we would have done a mold remediation to a number of areas in the school as a immediate, to address the immediate situation. We dealt with the prefab unit. We would have had a report that there were mold in there. We brought in a industrial hygienist as well as an industrial cleaner. We would have done the fogging and the sanitizing of the surfaces in the prefab units. We also, I must say that the Ministry of Health is leading the charge on this one, and we will be guided by the Ministry of Health. But in the interim, we have sought to use the industrial hygienist to take some air quality samples as well as swabs of the area so that we can determine whether or not the quality of the air is good or not. Now, we have asked him to fast track those results so that we, along with his recommendations, so that we can allay your fears. All right? So we dealt with the prefabs. We also dealt with the nursery and the reception. Now, there was two small areas in those in the cupboard and under the sink that had a presence of mold. So there was some remediation, and that entailed, as I said, the actual sanitizing of the surfaces as well as the fogging. Now, while the fogging is being done, there wasn't no access to the school. We didn't want anyone coming in the school, so there's some further work to be done. We have detected some moisture in the surfaces of the wall. As you know, the limestone holds the moisture in. So what we have done is that we have sourced some commercial grade dehumidifiers, and we will be installing that before the end of the week to help with drying out the moisture in that there. So as soon as we can get the lab results, we will address that situation in a more detailed manner.
If I may, please. And Minister, I am aware that both you and the Member of Parliament have been speaking about alternative accommodation while work is done on the site. Do you want to give them that assurance? Because both in terms of the government buildings and the other school in the area that is offered, that will be available in the next few days. Do you want to do that? Because I want people to leave here with a sense that matters are under control. Charles and Minister, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Your Member of Parliament, Mr. Charles Griffith, has been in discussions with the ministry to ensure that we are, in fact, following up in the way that he would like to see us follow up. And we have identified alternative locations that in the event that we do have to move at this time, that we will be able to look at those areas and move temporarily until such time as anything else that needs to be done is done. Here with me is Joy Adamson. She is our Deputy Chief Education Officer with responsibility for schools. So anything that happens within the schools are usually her responsibility. And she will certainly be moving with her team to look at the sites, the alternative sites that have been identified, and see what else would need to be done to make sure that in the event we have to move, that they are ready. So I'll give you an example. If you move a group of children to a different location from their regular school, they still have to get school meals. And the Ministry of Health have certain stipulations as to the conditions under which you can deliver school meals. So when the team would then have to go and visit the site and make sure that if we have to put up temporary structures or we have to do something else to make sure that it is good for that. Children may have to be bused. In fact, let Ms. Adamson speak to you about that in case they need to be bused working out with Transport Board. So it's not just a simple thing as here's a new place, but Ms. Adamson will let you know what else she and her team will be doing to ensure that alternatives are secured.
Good evening all. Thank you, Minister. In terms of relocation, as the Minister said, we have to investigate first the area. We have to make sure that we can get school meals to the area. We have to make sure that there are adequate bathrooms If we have to transport, if we have to get a bus system, we have to work with the transport board, or sometimes we do work with private entities as well to transport the children. We obviously have to move the furniture, we have to move all the teaching equipment and stuff that we will need. So it is a process that we will be using. Most of the times when we go to the alternative sites, we also have guards in place as well. So you have to look at security. So there's several steps that you have to take in terms of the relocation, but we will also meet with the parents and all along the way be able to communicate with the parents what is going on as it relates to that relocation.
I understand why the minister and the ministry would want it to sound complex, but please, let's break it down. And Charles, you've spoken to people in the community, haven't you? Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. What I've done is to had conversations with the chairman of the Codrington. And they have agreed that on the 10th of this month, classes will be finished at Codrington College, and persons Codrington College. There we go. Maybe it's Roy effect. So they indicated that yes, they can handle approximately 4 or 5 classrooms at the location. I made a site visit next door to the David Thompson complex. There's 1 vacant room, so if the class 4s who number 22, if they have to move, then it is possible that they can be housed at the David Thompson complex. So based on what Minister would have indicated, I believe the cleaning will be enough to handle the issues that are there, but just in case that there's a need for a backup plan, we have that in place. And note, like I said, that they're not moving outside of the constituency, next door at the David Thompson complex, and just down the hill at Codrington College. So plans are in train to back up whatever is happening from the Ministry of Education.
Richards, are you and the other parents clear as to what the plan is that the ministry is undertaking and that they have already started? And the beauty of if they have to take preemptive action is that they're giving themselves as much time as possible, because when school rises in July, you're back when mid-September too? So that effectively, if in the next week or so they do have to move, then, and we do have to find the alternative site, we're going to try to get as close to 10 weeks, 12 weeks of capacity to do work. Okay? How many kids in the school again now? 120. 120. And what was the normal roll? The roll has declined over years. And how much is the roll at St. Margaret's? Yeah, part of the difficulty, let's be clear straight. Barbados had 200 primary school sites in the year 1900. We're down to how many now, Joy? No, how many primary schools? 68. So we've gone from 200 primary schools to 68. And a large part of it also has to do with declining populations, especially in the rural areas, which therefore makes it difficult for the ministry to be able to carry out its work and working with the teachers and then the overheads from having to manage all of those sites. So what I want is a clear, continuous conversation with the parents, and let us see how best we can make it possible, because as Minister McCartney said, we are sensitive to the fact that too many children have already lost too much time, and we want to be able to make sure that we minimize that going forward. In fact, that is one of the reasons that we asked for diagnostic testing to be done in the secondary schools, and we're also hoping that in the primary schools we can get that assessment. What I want to urge, of course, is for us to minimize the dislocation for those who are in the class 4s. That's the truth. Okay? Who's next?
My name is Marva Downs from Glen Burnie. My query is with the
Sorry,
Barbados.
ma'am. What's your name? You didn't hear?
Marva.
What's the last name?
Downs.
Marva Downs.
Yeah.
And where do you live?
Glen Burnie.
Glen Burnie. Thank you.
And my query is with the Barbados Water Authority. I've had an issue with the authority since 2009. They were charging me extortionate price for water. Then to find out, I had the meter tested and it was a faulty meter. So they turned off my water, which was terminated. It's fine, because by then nobody was living at the residence. 2020, I decided then I'll do some repairs. So I applied to have a new meter fitted, which it cost me $400. So I went and paid for the meter. Mr. Taylor told me when the work is, because then I had to do replumbing, when it's ready to contact them. I've been contacting them numerous times, and nobody came and fit a meter. Our old meter is still on there, which is faulty, right? And now they say suddenly they started from September billing me for water, for terminated water. They disconnected my water and they're still charging me.
I hear you. And please, could I ask who's here from Water Authority, please?
They said they're going to look into it, but I've been hearing that since 2020.
No problem. All of us can look into it. No, not just them. So rest assured. So could you go one side with the gentleman from Water Authority? And Mr. Morris, could I have a response back from Water Authority no later than Monday next week as to what will be done to accommodate in the circumstances given the length of time that Ms. Downs has been inconvenienced. Okay? Thank you. What's your name, sir? Who's next?
Hi, good evening. My name is Paul Bourne from. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Paul Bourne from Peg Farm, a nature reserve nearby. Right Honorable Prime Minister, Attorney General, MP for St. John. I come here more to speak about what we're doing at Peg Farm than to raise concerns or complaints, actually. I'd like to start by commending.
We welcome that too. Thank you.
I would like to start by commending you, Madam Prime Minister, and your team for the job you've been doing since you've been in power, by the way. Things were not so good back then. I grew up on the South Coast. My parents live on the South Coast, and you'll remember when you came in, there were turds on the street. And anyway, so things have improved, and I just want to acknowledge that. I know there's been a lot of talk about private sector needing to collaborate with government to do things for Barbados, and the initiative that we've taken on at PEG is one such initiative whereby we're trying to create I've referred to it as a smart rural community development, and centered on food and farming. Obviously, everyone's aware of the critical situation that we're in as regards to food security. You know, we produce so little of the food we eat, we import so much of it. I was actually really concerned during COVID that if Miami port or the ports in Canada or the UK had shut down, I don't know what we would do, because 3 months of stock would pass real quick, and whoa. Yeah, so we've been working diligently at PEG, just trying to, you know, make a step in the right direction. You know, journey of 1,000 miles begin with the first step. And what we found is that there's a whole bunch of associated initiatives that fit so nicely with, you know, a farming community. You know, we have a school at PEG, you know, with 50 or 60 kids, and we have a restaurant, farm to table restaurant, and we do tours, educational tours. In the last few months, this week alone, I've taken out 3 tours, each with 100 kids, 3 4-year-olds, some teenagers, whatever, and talking to them about farming, talking to them about the environment and water and just basic stuff that we take for granted sometimes. We have tourists coming up there. We do camping. We have a beautiful campsite. People coming all the time and camping and enjoying the environment because it's in a really beautiful location right on Hackerton's Cliff. And I actually believe strongly that that strip of land, Easy Hall, Malvern, and well, I know Clifton Hall is really under Clico, that whole contentious thing, but this land around here is the agricultural land in Barbados. You're not going to grow the food for Barbados in town. You need to grow it in the country. And there's an issue with population density and living conditions in the city. And I believe that with a rural development that focuses, that's centered on farming, where housing can be provided for the farmers so they can live where they farm, because that's a big issue. Men farm and then catch a bus and go home and hope that when they come back the next day, what they were farming is still there, and quite often it isn't, especially close to harvest time. So we've already been creating a little community at PEG, and it's working so nicely. And I feel like that is something that needs developing. And I, as a member of the private sector, am fully, I'm committed to it already. I've already spent 10 years and millions myself doing it just because I believe in it. And it's so encouraging to hear you speak about stuff that, you know, that we're doing already. I was very, very appreciative to have Deputy PM came up in October last year, spent 5 hours undivided attention. It was wonderful, and I know she fully understood it, she grasped it and supported it. And we're so committed to continuing it, but there's a little issue with the land ownership. And that would be the only concern I have that I would like to just put there, is that this precious land in this area is, you know, it's owned by people who don't necessarily have the same idea, same social consciousness, and certainly don't have the intention to try and do something that could be good for Barbados. And I am driven by that. This is not motivated from a personal thing so much as it's motivated by doing something good for Barbados. So, you know, that is that's all I came here. I brought a whole set of my crew is here with me as well, the entrepreneurs, because the way PEG is set up, entrepreneurs run all the business. I don't actually own the whole place. I own the concept, but it's entrepreneurs. The restaurant is owned by a young couple who had a dream to own their own restaurant. They didn't have the wherewithal to go and buy a restaurant and buy all the equipment. I did that for them. They paid me rent when they could, and you know, 3 years later they have a thriving business doing well. Same with the school, same with the meat shop, same with the planters who are there now. You know, like, I was able to facilitate them and support them so that they could action what they know, what they love, and they're doing it for themselves. They don't work for me. I don't need employees. I had plenty of them in a past life in my family business. So I think it's really important to support entrepreneurs, because they're the future. They're the ones that are going to drive the private sector forward. So the concern of the land use is a big one, because without the access to the land, it can't be developed and invested in further. And so I just wanted to bring that to the forefront. And I would also like to extend an official invitation to come and see the place for yourself, meet the people yourself, talk to them. Like, you know, you'll hear stuff from me, but hear from them too, and see where this can go.
The truth is, I had 2 aborted times that I was coming. One got licked up by a meeting and an emergency, and then the other one got licked up by rain. But I give you the assurance that I will come and see and come and walk around and try the hand of the different entrepreneurs on site. I actually heard about the school only a few weeks ago,
Really?
and was heartened to hear about it as well. Thank you for sharing the information. I invite you to write me, and let me know what are the issues that are of concern with respect to the land, and to say that, look, my biggest headache now is when somebody comes to Barbados and say they want to do a tourism investment that is coastal. Ask Kerry. There are very few greenfield sites left.
Yeah.
And yet the truth is that a lot of the tourism plant we have was built from as far back as the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, but with densities that were different. And I think I might have adverted to this at some point in conversation. We have to start looking and seeing how we can also do things inland, in addition to the agriculture and food security, and merging all of these things as is being done here, so that you have an integrated form of development with access to the beach. I've said before, and I still hope it can happen, and I want to encourage people who are entrepreneurial to want to partner with government. The truth is that we're coming out of COVID and doing a lot of things on a lot of fronts, but by the same token, you see Bath Plantation, Minister of Agriculture has made sure that we have made available large parts of it to persons to farm. But there are other parts of it there too that can take what I would like to see a Bajan village hotel. A Bajan village hotel that is modeled on the chattel houses. I've said it to Charles before, I've said it to the others. We need to do an RFP because government itself is not necessarily entrepreneurial, but government can facilitate. And I'm hoping that BTII and BA, DMC, and others can work together to encourage people, and that we can maybe even encourage the trust to partner with us in it, so that you have a different style of hotel that allows people, as well as Bajans, younger Bajans too, who would not have known what it is like to live in Barbados and live in the country in Barbados, so that we have a different product there completely. But I want to encourage that tourism can't only be about South Coast, West Coast, sun, beach, sand, and that we have to innovate. One of our greatest regrets is that Villanova was caught up in the whole Clico madness. And Villanova historically has significance because it was owned by Sir Anthony Eden, who was the Prime Minister of the UK when they were dealing with the Suez Canal. So there's a whole story that can go around it. I remember the day that we announced the arbitration against Trinidad and Tobago. We met with Patrick Manning at Villanova in discussions, and Villanova for me was always that place that could have developed into conferences, arbitration, and other things that would keep people busy during the day, such that they would only go to the beach for an evening, an early morning, or a weekend, but that they are doing their work in circumstances and surroundings that were bucolic. So I want to thank you for raising it. I want to use this opportunity to send the signal that this is an area where the government is strongly of the view that we need to be doing more. And indeed, I also want to be able to tell you that there may have to be, and I'll let the truck move so that they don't affect the noise, that we need to be able to find more central locations along the coast that can accommodate beach access for Bajans and that can accommodate beach access also for inland tourism. And if we do that, then it will allow for a more efficient and effective use of the land and allow a wider group of people to benefit from the hospitality industry. But the mechanism or the measurement that you're using, where you're not consolidating ownership but facilitating entrepreneurs, where you are creating a multifaceted experience, that is what people want. And more tourism today is about experiential tourism, as opposed to just Sunsea and Sand. Sunsea and Sand is still important, don't get tired, but you can't be on a beach 24/7. Sometimes you need other things to excite the mind. And the people who had done an excellent job taking care of the land down in Bath, I think the Ministry of Agriculture, they've taken a little too long to resolve the issue of the leases for them. But this is a case where people took bush and put it into productive use. and we've had the conversations, and we believe that we can do things, because where people are showing that they're trying in this country, the government needs to meet them in good faith. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bourne. And I'm glad that you are in this part of the country now and not only on the South Coast.
Thank you. Go ahead. Before you start, again, just a reminder, this is St. John Speak, so it is your opportunity to speak with your MP, with your Prime Minister and other officials. But for order, again, if you're going to speak, the table at the back manned by staff of the Prime Minister's office, they'll take a note. Once they've given you a number, take one of these seats directly in front of me that are separated from the left and the right. And if you're going to the mic, you should be coming to the mic from one of these seats. Okay?
Good night, Madam Prime Minister, and good night to everyone else. My name is Damani Small, and I currently reside in Court Hill, St. John.
I want to know if you left me in Bush Hall.
When Minister Griffith first started, he mentioned about St. John is rising. So what I would like to know, based on St. John rising, what are the accomplishments that you have done in St. John that you would say that St. John is rising? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I will share a couple of things that would have happened in St. John since the last St. John Speaks. Starting here at Gall Hill, for more than 15 years, we had an issue with the community center. And right now, we have the roof completed, and it is only the internal portion of the community center to be fixed. Somehow I was kind of expecting that question. I want to share with you, because persons have mentioned to me repeatedly that the polyclinic is an eyesore. I want to suggest tonight, Roy, if you can hold that. Yeah, not a problem. Right. So, this is proposed marketplace at the community center. 12.
Will you please turn off the projector so it doesn't show on the map, please? Thank you. Unless, of course, you can take the film of it and put it on the projector.
Right, so this is the new facility that is proposed to go right here, where we're going to retrofit the old polyclinic and turn it into a vendor's mall containing 12 areas for marketing. It is expected that a Chopin may be in this facility as an anchor tenant, and those old persons in St. John will be able to pay their bills without having to struggle going to town. Let me look at Gall Hill. We have a situation where recently gold bars were placed at Gall Hill. It is expected this week that the site screens will be replaced. Lights, we have 2 lights that are on these particular hard courts here that are inadequate, and the ministry would have consented to move to 4 lights that will facilitate road tennis and other sports that are happening at this community. I had flooding at Cherry Grove, matter resolved. There was flooding at Codrington, resolved. 200 houses are coming to Hope, and the process would have started, but not only 200 houses are coming. I have masons and carpenters from the constituency of St. John working at the Hope project. So I can come back. Like I said, I would like persons to ask questions, but this is a snapshot of some of the things that are happening. If you go across Wakefield, there's a project called Project Phoenix. The surfer would have mentioned agriculture. I have a number of young persons who are farming at that particular location, and they're doing exceedingly well. But I can come back with other things that are happening in the constituency of St. John. Concept Bay, yes, Prime Minister is mentioning the old library. I had a situation where about 12 unemployed females were training to do dressmaking to facilitate producing uniforms for the 3 primary schools in St. John, and it is expected that this particular community center will be converted into a fashion hub for those young ladies to ply their trade. My colleague, Minister Humphrey would have mentioned Concept Bay, and I have drawings too. Roy, if you look in the folder, you will see that for more than 50 years or however long Concept Bay was in a state of disrepair, we have fishermen working out of rusted containers. This is the new facility that is going to Concept Bay. And I can provide, if you want to, the reference numbers that you can see that all of these, both of them are in at Tongue and Country Planning. So when I say to you that St. John is rising, then St. John is definitely rising.
Thank you very much, Minister. Who's next?
And if I could, as a old Bajan, invoke a little spirituality, that I learned from primary school. Seeing that I went to school at Society Primary School, and I came from college. I needed to go to school at Lodge, but I went to uni. So give thanks. I hold how good and how pleasant it is to be here in love and unity. It is like a precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, even down to the skirts of an dreadlock garment. As the Jew of Iman and the Jew that I ascended upon the mountains of Zion, for here the Almighty commanded this bless, even life and love forevermore. A very pleasant night to Madam Prime Minister and Honorable Mr. Charles, our representative,
Good night.
and all the panel.
What's your name?
Rasayan.
Rasayan. Good to meet you.
And all the others that are here tonight, for this occasion. Well, St. John is an agricultural place. So I have to speak on agriculture. First, I would like to say that over 80 years ago, in the war, Barbados feed itself. Study it. And 80 years afterwards, with all the equipment, with all the technology, with more people, with more access to land, here we are today, that we cannot. And why? Because, and remember too, in those days, when we feed ourselves, remember that the people were poor, but they had 9 and 10 children that they sent to university. Who are the people that run in the country now? And they got to make sure they ain't running in the ruins, because they are the children of the hard labor of the laborers. That's why we have a Labour Party, a Barbados Labour Party, and a Democratic Labour Party. The parties in Barbados are built on labor. And why we face such problems is that I got $21 a day as an A-class pay in 1979. And when Mr. Eastman at Huddersfield Plantation gave me the banjo for, people say I was foolish, because, I was one of them bright boys, I was one of them first, second, and third people in school. I ain't none of them dunksy people. But I choose agriculture. Because when I say a Rastafari, the society rejects us. So, with the knowledge I had in my education, I couldn't get a job. You could be a police today, you could be a magistrate, you could be a prime minister. We have dreadlocks now. That is what we and I have done for this country.
Or Speaker of the House.
Yeah, or Speaker of the House. Yeah, of course, the Speaker of the House is Mr. Arthur. Yes, please. You know? So, at $21 a day in 1979, you know, it caused a noise because the people that was working on the plantation for 40 years was only getting $16. And here it was, I a teenager getting $21. Well, that experience was a great experience. Because why Barbados is in trouble today, because although you have plenty money in Barbados, money don't work land, you know. Let me share my experience with you. Why Barbados is in problems in agriculture. Because on mornings, they had a man called the supervisor. He would come into the yard for the morning at 6 o'clock. And he would speak to the plantation owner and tell him what to do. He would return home. And he would come at 7. And he would say that the plantation manager gave him the order. All right. You see now that those people are home and there's nobody to give the manager order, he don't know the order. And the people that are trained in agriculture are trained to manage people, not land. You know? So, here I am, that if you hire a laborer at your home, you have to give him $100 a day. But here it is that an agriculturist, a farmer, can't even get $70 a day. So he's looked upon as even less than a laborer. Study that. When we feed ourselves with those people 80 years ago, and those people are responsible for the people that are running the country now. So we have to take a very serious retrospect. And that is why I come to invoke a retrospect with a remedy. Right? So, if a farmer can't get $100 a day, and remember, if the doctor don't eat, he dies. If the carpenter don't eat, he dies. If the prime minister don't eat, she dies too. So know that. And remember too, when the people were poor to raise 12 children, and when they were working for cents to save dollars, and now they're working for dollars, they can't save a cent. And as a matter of fact, 3 weeks ago, the government couldn't pay people. Because I hear many government workers said they ain't get paid, but you know that you can go and shop and tell people that government they pay you though. So,
I wasn't aware of that.
Well, I get you're aware now.
Well, except that I am so sure, because it may just be that somebody didn't do what it was supposed to do, but the money there to pay them, and the majority pay. If the majority didn't get paid, you could be assured they wouldn't even be able to get here good.
Somebody break the order. But you know, the ordinary people.
And that's why I say that sometimes what happens is that the authority may not go down for a few people, and that's why trying to change, because it's not fair nor right. But don't let me distract you. You go along.
All right. I have
You're talking good.
I have commendations for you.
And the retrospect making sense.
Yeah. And if you realize, right, we can't attract people in agriculture if a man can't get at least like a labor $100 a day. And what is wrong to giving a farmer $100 a day who has to feed everyone? You know? So, and then again, what we have to do is train people to be practical in agriculture. Because, you know, we have a lot of theoretical people in agriculture, right? Agriculture is not description tonight, but agriculture is the verb. Yeah, you know what the verb is? If you know English language well, the verb is the doing word. You know? So I am speaking from a position of doing it, of the action, right? And I took up farming from 1979. And I planted, I always talk about permaculture and sustainable development, because it is ironical that the first sustainable development conference, when there was no talking about green, going green, was in Barbados, you know. And now it's even ironic to know that our prime minister is the head of that, or the second head of that development from 1994. So I think that Barbados should play a pivotal role in example of sustainable development, for which I am a perfect example. Because when I took up agriculture, all the other elder farmers around me were sugarcane farmers. So, you know, as a Rasta man, and one of the main reasons I farm is that because, you know, in them days, Rasta said, stop eat flesh, we can eat vegetables and fruits. And as a matter of fact, we give that to the island free, because when Rastas first say, look, that we eat fruits and vegetables, the people said they can dead though, they can't live, and they can't get no children. I know Rastas got most children though. You know, and not only that, right now, right, they want to say Rastafari, they're calling it healthy lifestyle. So all the middle class people eating fruits and vegetables, so the life that we give them free, we paying for it now, because the dearest thing is vegetables. When I first was a Rasta man, I used to sell 10 bananas for $1, right? Now one single banana for $1. So I don't got no problem surviving. I could plant bananas and live, as I am doing, right? Just the other day, because I'm a coconut farmer too, because I deal with permaculture. Because I decided that I would switch from agriculture to permaculture. I would plant like permanent trees, things that could survive for generations, for generation to generation. So all the other farmers were cane farmers. So I decided I won't plant sugar cane. I would plant fruits and vegetables, and I would plant trees, especially coconut trees. Because if you realize, I got a lot of coconut men, but they ain't got no coconut trees. And if you realize, people now start to plant coconut trees. But I got 3 coconut plantations, as which I would like the Minister of Agriculture to visit, and you too.
Tell me where they are going to come.
Yeah, right, in Cossington College.
I come in Sahada.
Yeah, well, I am ready.
Thank you.
I have my farm in excellent condition.
I come Sahada and pass peg for him. I come in both Sahada.
Yeah.
The Minister of Agriculture tell me I have some work with him to do anyhow on Saturday. So instead of me doing it in an office, we're going to do it in the car driving down here.
Yeah, and thank you. That's very good. So I planted coconut trees. Even when I planted my coconut trees, even my family tell me I only got coconut trees. But right now I can lay down on my lawn and the coconut man could come and get some. Although that is not my vehicle, I'm a vegetarian caterer. So I mostly drive around and sell my idle dishes, and I can sell my coconut water myself. That's the real truth. But I don't allow the entrepreneurs to live. And remember, the first coconut men were Rastas. The first set of coconut men in Barbados were Rastas. So I would go around to all of them Rastas as a Rasta man and tell them when to see a good variety, keep it for me. So I have all the varieties you could think about on my farm. And I hear the government really into coconuts and propagating. So they should check me as a propagator.
I actually, you know? And let me help you there, because the minister would tell you that we've put, how much it is, $15 million this year for the tissue culture lab, because we will need to be able to be putting and getting far more clean planting material out to the communities and to people. So I'm sure that they will have a conversation with you and with the people who work there at that lab.
That's
okay?
Excellent, because I need to be an example that Barbados could be the best place in the world, because I went to school at UNIC, and as a matter of fact, UNIC had the first president of the Barbados Business and Professionals Women's Club, the first women's club they had in Barbados. That woman was Megan Greenwich, a very strict disciplinarian, a lady who, when she drive her 200 Rover, that you know well, because when you hear the woo, you know it's silence. And in silence, if she sit down in that chair for 15 minutes, you will get 15 minutes of silence. Because if you dare speak, she know your voice. And you got to stand up on the bench for the whole day, forgotten too. And check a tall man like me up on the bench in the short pants. You know? So I came out of a very serious discipline, which is at college, you know, you had to be spiritual. That's why I start. So I went to school at Society. You hear what that name? Society. Well, I didn't be a large boy, so that way I went to school at large, because I learned my large home. My great-grandmother used to keep the lodge for St. Cossington. So I know that science well. And I climb up Cossington College. The students, we didn't have to come to Gall Library. College had a library at that time. The students had a library for the district, which I utilized a lot. I read classics as a youth, as a youngster. Climb up on the presses. I always love reading. I still do it. You know, so I think that we are in a good position. And Madam Prime Minister, one thing I have to commend you on is your connection with Africa. I must say that you have placed your name in the history books forever. That's the truth. Because you got to know where you come from to know where you are going. And remember this, that the best of Africa are here, not the worst. God, the worst can survive the middle passage, you know. Remember that. Remember that journey. You know, the feeble will be thrown off. And remember too, the first destination was Barbados. So we got the best and we sent away the rest. And another thing too, remember, the only slave that live in the master's house is Barbadians. We live in his house. We were trusted. All know we are trusted. You know, so we got to remember where we come from. And remember that Barbados had a strong Garvey movement. And also to remember the person that write the anthem, the Ethiopian anthem, is a Barbadian, which is Mr. Ford. And remember his wife set the first co-ed school in Ethiopia, you know. Because we are talking about education now. And remember, Barbados is the place that have the first educated slave. Because it was Christopher Codrington, the man on the plantation that I grew up on, who said, let us educate the slaves, and it was a rebellion against that. Because they say that what we are doing now, it would have happened. But some things are inevitable, as we can see. Right? So I would like us together as a country. And another thing, when we are speaking about education, because the problem we have in education could be solved easy. Because I know they're talking about reform education. Now, this idea of first, second, and third, this is competition, right? You can't share your book with the man, because if you want to beat the man, you can't share what you got with you, you know? You got to hold your book from he, because you want to beat, you want to come first, or you want to come second, so you can't share. So we socialize to don't share. But it's ironical that when you get to university, the only way you get a degree is when you share information. So I suggest that what we are doing at university, we should do at primary school, please. We should share information so that people could be properly socialized, because remember, all of us are social beings. Right? So we should share information from young. And not only that, another point I need to make that struck me when I first say Rastafari, right? All the knowledge I had, I realized the men that, as was said, the boys that, who then passed the 11 plus, right? You still go to lodge and do woodwork and metal work. And you will become a carpenter or mason. And that's another thing about education that we look at down upon. Because a man is feeling like a carpenter or mason is not necessary or is less educated. This is a foolish thing. Because let me show you. When I finished school and I realized I can't get a job with the education I had, right? Why I forced to be a farmer is because I couldn't be an apprentice. Because remember, my family was looking for me to be a doctor or lawyer. And when I said Rastafari, they looked like all the hope gone. But they could smile today, because I who gain the bush tea, they could get food, they could get coconut water, you know, they could get a good reasoning on spirituality. And I remember I went to church 3 times a Sunday. I was to go to church for the morning, Anglican church, 9 o'clock. In the midday, I know I'm working with the sit down, I'm working with the revival. So I would go in the hall and do a little service at 12, and I would return at 3 o'clock to Sunday school. And as a matter of fact, I was a server, but I never do a 8:30 service. I always do the service at 7 o'clock, where you had to be reverend. Because I know them people is the real Christians. You know? Not the priest, you know, the priest doing a job. That's his profession. So he's professing. You know? That's why I'm not a professor, that I'm Rastafari. Right? So I would say commendations to even Mr. Charles for his effort. Because remember, right? In 1976, when I come out of school, I now starting politics, right? That time, that's the first time the BLP, the window. You can remember the slogan? No tricks in 76. You can remember that slogan? No tricks in 76, right? So that's when I get involved too, you know, in the whole movement of politics and, you know, campaigning and canvassing and, That's just before it was Rastafari. Rastafari saved me. Otherwise, I'll be a politician too. You know? Because it's ironic that I did a program with the Government Information Service, right? And this program came over on the national radio last week. Well, it's going to come on the television soon. You know? But when the morning afterwards, I was in the village. So a man come out from in the district. He said, "Wait, Ian, that's you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Look, I did listen to my radio last night. I hear this body talking." I said, "This body sound like you." Because I know when you go up on radio now, you become a movie star. It's a different person altogether. So the man proceeded. He said, "Look, I want to know you could talk so good. You should be a politician." I tell you, you know what happened? You want to listen to the program, you know. In the program, I say that, look, I give up my education for this life here as Rastafari. Right? Otherwise, I'll be a politician, you know. That's the truth. But as Rastafari. And I tell you, look, you know why it's Rastafari? Because, look, you see how you walk out today, you could talk to me. If I was a politician, I would got my window roll up and I'd be in the park and heights, though. You can talk to me.
Not the ones that I know. Not the ones that I know.
Well, I was glad to know that changing now, you know. So, I would say, well, I won't take up more time than I have taken already, you know. But I would say love to everyone, and I commend you on your initiative on Africa. And I think we should have a one-on-one conversation where you reach my place. And I think you have written your name securely in the name of history in connecting us with our motherland. Because remember, you know, Europe can't save us now. Africa has everything. What you think the fighting war? All the war that fighting is for the resources of Africa, because the world can't develop without Africa. Africa is the cradle of civilization. You know? So I give thanks, and I hope that everyone will have a pleasant night and reflect on what I say here tonight. One love, one heart, one aim, one destiny.
Thank you.
Give thanks. Bless.
And let me say, because there's some people who need to know, look, these sessions are not just about finding out what's happening in government. We learn at these sessions. And the kind of engagement that has happened here tonight with you and before you with Peg Farm and others are equally learning sessions, as much as we must respond to Ms. Richards and others about facilities that are not working as well as they should in the community. And I would like forever for the spirit of these sessions to include not just people wanting to find out about government services, but people who want to add value to the building of this nation. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
I thank you very much, and I commend you. Because remember, I have a brethren even in Canada and in the other Caribbean islands, you know. And all of these people telling me, Ian, you got the best prime minister in the world, you know. I want you to know that's what it, because of your connection with Africa and how you are moving, all the other islands, the brethren in them islands commend you. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Good night, Madam Prime Minister and your team. Good night, Minister. My name is Chanel Ford, and I live in Courtshall, St. John. I have two, I don't want to call them concerns, but yes. The first one, this relates to appointments in the civil service. In 2020, persons would have been appointed based on the merit that they were working or appointed in, they were working in a post for 3 years or more, and they would have been appointed. What I want to know, if this is a legalistic policy going forward, and I guess as it relates to persons now who are in the same position or persons who are looking for a second appointment, how will it go moving forward?
Thank you. It was a one-off at the time, and the truth is we had to do it because we had thousands of people who were backed up. What we're trying to do now is to be able to go through. In fact, I would say that in the last week alone, most of my time has been spent meeting with the Ministry of Public Service of any single ministry, trying to be able to do the deconstruction and to be able to bring it fully into the 21st century. We will review again. If we have to, we will go there. But quite frankly, we're trying to get the system to work fully on merit going forward. Okay?
Okay. The last time I was here, I would have asked you about the prejudice system and how long it should take. The prejudice. Going to the asking. Going
Oh,
to
you
the
mean for the appeal?
Yeah, for the appeal.
Well,
yeah.
most of them have been done. So if yours hasn't, or well, not yours, but if one that you know about hasn't been done, if you can share with Mr. Morris so we can check upon you. Because I know the president has done almost 900 appeals that she's reviewed. Okay?
Okay, thank you. My next concern now is to my parliamentary representative as it relates to the community center at Collington. I know that it has been there for many years, being the day nursery. Before then, it would have moved over to the day nursery would have built on the opposite side, and work would have been done. I myself, I conducted summer camps there. I did a few things, and it was a community-oriented place. But now there's nothing happening, and I wanted to know the status on. I know other community centers were moved away to resource centers. What is happening at Collington as it relates to the community center?
The question, the truth is that the engineers would have gone to the location and the center is practically condemned. The structure is falling apart, so we're gonna have to take it down and to do some other things there in terms of trying to see if we can get a new community center for you. But you would notice that on the playing field, preparation is being made to put one pole there, 3 lights, because I was told by members of the community that the youngsters are going in too early, and there's a need for some lights at the facility, and that is being taken care of.
Okay.
But the center is condemned. The engineers are saying the structure is not good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I remind you when you get a chance to speak to Mr. Morris to follow up on the other matter for you.
Yes,
Okay?
please.
Thank you. Who's next?
Hello, good night. Thank you. All protocols having been previously observed. My name is Destiny. I live in Clearberry, St. John. Unfortunately, I guess due to constituency lines, I am told that I vote in St. Joseph, however, but it's St. John, so I came to
Parish
St.
of
John.
St. John, talk.
So I would first like to commend the government on the work that they're doing with regards to the roads. There have been great improvement in all of the roads. Well, a lot of roads.
I want to say that a little louder because most people don't feel it. But thank you. The truth is that Rome was not built in a day, as they would say, but we're getting there.
That is true. Let me finish first before you compliment me. So, like I said, I do want to compliment. There has been a lot of road work that has been done. However, with regards to the main road in front of my community, and that road I'm speaking about extends all the way from about Sweet Bottom straight up until Villanova, where the Martins Bay bus will pass, which is the main bus route. So you would think it would be of benefit. I have pictures from when I was a young girl, when playing outside was still a thing. My road was not paved, and since then there has been no further repair to that road that has been of significant benefit. There has been patching done to the point where there are no humps in the road as opposed to just potholes. So if we can, I know that there's significant road as well being talked about with regards to the Scotland district. So if we could know if St. John is included as a part of the Scotland district, if there's any plans for repairing of the road, if there's going to be any work done at all, that would be most beneficial. Thank you.
I want to ask Mr. Trude if he can help. I know that on the Sweet Bottom end during the by-election, we committed to that, and we also committed to that junction at the Groves, which is a death trap, quite frankly, and I've asked that that be fast-tracked. And in fact, only 2 weeks ago or last week at Cabinet, we spoke about it with the Deputy Prime Minister. Because when you get to that junction, if you really don't know what you're doing, you can run into serious trouble.
Yeah.
And then the Sweet Bottom Road, to the best of my knowledge, was in CAF. Would you like to speak? And then, but does it go as far up as Villanova? And if not, can we meet her concerns, please? Because I'm sure she's more interested in the eastern side of the road than the part that's closer to Groves. So, Philip?
Yes, good night, everyone. I'm not sure how far she's talking about. What we can do is I can get your number and we can probably have a tour sometime to look at your concerns regarding the road.
Sure.
And if possible, we can put it on our program. But I do know there are a number of roads in St. John that we plan to do under the CAF and Complant programs. So if you can give me your number, we can meet sometime and we can have a tour to look at the area you're talking about.
That's no problem. Thank you.
Okay, Destiny, I hope that he follows through, and please note that we really want to be able to make sure, as I said, we can't do all at once, but day by day, week by week, month by month, more happening. So thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, good night, everyone. Madam Prime Minister, MP for the area, Minister of Education, other official. Ma'am, I come here tonight. My name is Sandra Seeley, Coachell St. John. Yes, ma'am. This question is going out to my MP and also Mr. Springer. I am the school monitor by St. John's Primary School, and every morning I'm having a serious problem with that pedestrian crossing, and I would like something to be done expeditiously before somebody got to bury one of the children. I'm so serious. A month ago, I had to snatch a child from in front of a car because he couldn't, the driver could not wait because the transport board driver stopped in the middle of the road. He could not wait. He drove up on the sidewalk, and I had to snatch this child. I am still traumatic about it. Every time I look at this little boy, I say, Lord God, if I didn't out there, what would have happened? So I spoke to my MP. He said something was being done about it. But can we have something done? Because right now, so the pedestrian crossing needs painting. They say they cannot see the signage on both sides of the road. Can we have some speed hump? Because when they're coming from large school side, they're speeding and they're not looking and realizing that it is a school there. So something needs to be done there before someone lost their life.
Thank you, Sandra. Yes, I know we have had several conversations about that. Unfortunately, the pedestrian crossing at St. John was not done. I asked for that and the one at Mount Tabor because there's a secondary one that is also required at Mount Tabor. And I'm hoping that now that you have aired your concern that we will get some action. One was painted at Mount Tabor, but this is the site of Villanova. One is also required at the bottom of the Churchill, and this one at St. John's Primary. So I'm hoping that maybe by next week we'll get some action.
Always remember what people say, a promise is a comfort to a fool, and all fools should be comforted. Being wanting a promise right now, I am so serious. I tired running behind children every morning though. I'm 52 years old. I should be running behind the boy children, snatching them from up on the car near car wheel. It had me emotional. That's why I'm up here this evening. You understand? It is not fair for a driver every morning. He has to get out the transport board bus to put a child across the road. I have to left my post to go and collect the child every morning. It is not fair.
Thank you, Ms. Seeley, for your service. I can tell from the passion in your voice that you really care about those children that you're in charge of. I'm going to ask our acting chief technical officer to have a team go out there as early as tomorrow and start the process of repairing that pedestrian crossing.
Spoken to the gentleman at Richmond Depot to ask him to come and paint. He spoke to the principal. What more can we ask for? We having a lot of issues up there. We can't go through all of this here. All the time so. Some 23 years ago, I asked when my son was going at St. John Primary School for a traffic warden there. I was told Democratic Labour Party, BLP, whoever party it was, St. John Primary School is too small to have a warden. I know people are interested in doing the job, right? But why is that St. John Primary School is too small and St. Mark has a warden? That's the question that's being asked. Why? And my next...
I think you heard the minister.
Yes, I heard him.
Okay, so therefore, let me give me a chance. I don't, you like me, I don't use the word promise. Never have, don't like it. So just time will determine and you will see it happen. Look, the prioritization of people's lives is what this government has always been about. So just give it a chance, all right? You've raised it, it will be dealt with.
The next question I have is for the Minister of Education.
Before you go on, you said it's by St. John Primary School.
Close to the cemetery wall.
Mount Tabor at the bottom of Churchill. Bottom of Churchill. Okay, all right. We'll see if it can be done between now and Friday. Between tomorrow and Friday.
I hope so. The next question I have is
but I am going to moderate it because while the acting minister has said tomorrow, I would like it to be tomorrow, but I don't believe that it disrupt people's workflow just so. Okay. So as soon as is reasonably practicable, Mr. Tudor, but within the next day or two, and therefore please take her number and let her know so that you can report. Okay?
Okay,
Thank
the next question is for the Minister of Education. As I said, I'm a school monitor. Our tenure is coming to a close on the 31st of July. What are the prospects?
The person you need to be asking is not the Minister of Education. You need to be talking to the Minister of Finance.
Okay. Well, I know, but she's the Minister of Education, so I bring it forward the
rest
question.
assured, I only teasing you. I only teasing you.
But I'm just asking.
Honestly, no. We have made a determination that we are keeping the school monitors, but they have to be repurposed because obviously there's no COVID pandemic anymore.
Right.
But we accept that for what needs to be done in the schools, that there are support roles that can be played. I was the Minister of Education who introduced parent volunteers into the school system 30 years ago. So you don't need to persuade me about the need to be able to have an integrated approach where some of the parents, because all of the monitors are actually parents in the most, majority of monitors are parents. So rest assured we are looking at the repurposing of the work for you, and at the appropriate time they will engage with you and let you know the kind of supportive roles that we want you to play for the principals and the teachers in the primary school system.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Have you too. You have a good night too, dear. Don't fall down.
Good night, Madam Prime Minister. My name is John Luke. College St. John. Okay? Today I went to St. John Polyclinic. I'm in David Dawson Polyclinic, right? And every time I go there, when it's 7 o'clock inside the clinic, the AC working, and that's what part the doctors and the nurses says, and the patient, the AC they're working, and they're 3 years now that it ain't working. You understand? So I would like it to go out there and fix and treat me and think and get the thing fixed. The AC working. The AC is not working, madam.
I heard you. Your voice is loud and strong.
Because that's what I'm trying to tell now.
So,
you understand? You know me where, madam.
I was about to tell you that I ain't see you for a while.
Okay,
so
but let's stay here.
Rest assured, you're the one person I know that don't need a mic. So
you
step one side and talk to me.
Okay. But I see madam, the
Good
AC
to
is
see you,
still
though. No, I
One
hear
said
you.
the parts ain't working.
I hear
But
you.
the doctor just got over. No, I didn't do it.
I hear you.
You understand? And that's where I'm afraid to read.
I know. All
And
right.
that's 3 years now that you said it ain't working.
I hear you.
You understand? That was like saying being done like 3 years now. Okay, please. Just give me the money right. Get out there, Fritz, man, please. Okay, good.
Thank you, John
That's all
Luke.
I have to say.
With two powerful names like John Luke, I have to listen to you.
Okay, you take care, all right? Good.
Alex, are there any other lists? Okay. Prime Minister, that's the full list of persons from who've registered this week.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank. There's one more? Let's come.
Good night, Madam Prime Minister and the team. My name is Peter Bushell. I'm from Messiah Street. But my reason here tonight is not really to speak about problems in St. John, if you don't mind me using this opportunity, but I wanted to thank you and your government. As you can see, I work at SSA, and I want to thank you and your government for putting in place the medical plan that you would have done for us. I know it was something that would have been talked about for a while, but it finally came to fruition through this government, and on behalf of my SSA family, I want to say thank you very much.
Mr. Bushell, come back. So I just want to say to you that I really want to thank you and the rest of the men and carry back the message for me. When I met with y'all, it was 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, please.
When I came in the yard. And the truth is, I'm going to come again. Because what happened during COVID was a difficult moment for the entire country. But you guys stepped up to the plate. And when we spoke on that morning, you all asked me about the medical insurance. And in fact, there was a lot of frustration and anger. And I'm happy that we were able to deliver. Secondly, I'm happy that we were able also to put the hydraulic, what do you call them?
The bin lifts. We call them bin lifts.
The bin lifts. And I want you to encourage more of the men to use it, because there are too many disheartening stories, not just now, but I've been in public life now for over 30 years, and I know other men who work sanitation long and whose backs, you understand, been mashed up from having to heave and lift and heave and lift. And that's why we put these bins, and I'm asking Bajans to respect it. For the most part, the truth is that I'm very happy Minister Ford is here. I'm very happy that Bajans have treated to them with a sense of responsibility and with a level of care. But I want to work with you more to see how we can get more use of it, because believe you me, when you're young, you feel you can do anything. But when you get old, you learn that spontaneity is not your companion, and that habit and repetition is your nurturer.
Well, I was now about to say the
and
same thing to you.
I speak now as a person who is trying to navigate the difference between youth and old age.
Yeah, because I find that a lot of the younger guys now, because you know these guys play that not fast, they won't be always going, so some of them they tend not to use the lift, they want to still lift up the bins and stuff like that. But I tell myself eventually when they get like me now, it will tell for them as well. But you know the younger people know always in a hurry and always rushing.
But let's talk to them, because it's for their own good. And the truth is that when you're young, you feel you can do and be anything. And as you get older, you realize that the damage has been done. And the government, therefore, in putting the medical insurance in place, wanted also to put measures in place that would minimize the use of the medical insurance from occupational risk. Okay?
And I thank you so much for your comments, because as I say, we out here on the road working, and a lot of times we don't get praise and thanks from the public. as we should, and it's always a pleasure. Even if one body come to the truck and say thanks, it means a lot to me. So thank you so much again.
Thank you. And I know the minister is here, and I know that he is bringing to cabinet shortly the plan for the recycling, so that the recycling bins, those were the, what color that was again, the blue ones, that he knows that we're taking too long to get them fully operational, but it will be done this year. Okay? And the public education program, and may I say to Minister McConney and to Deputy Chief that the education in the schools is going to be critical as well to the recycling campaign. Okay? Mr. Morris, I think before we wrap up, you wanted to have the floor. I just want to say thank you. I don't think I've ever come to St. John and not enjoyed myself. To begin with, the breeze reminds you that you are on God's earth and in the most beautiful part of this country. And I want to thank you. Secondly, I want to say that we haven't spoken about everything. Charles could have spoken about the transfer of properties in Welch that we're trying to do. We're trying to look at the other housing expansion in Poole. We are looking to see how we can also repurpose a number of plantation houses. We are also looking to see how those properties that are in Clico, that but and abound existing villages, can be used to expand agricultural opportunities. And then, Minister Ware, we are waiting on you with the special purpose vehicles for the medicinal cannabis, as we have promised the men and ladies, because in a lot of instances, while people have the experience, they've not been given the opportunity and they've not been given the platform. And the government has agreed that we will joint venture with Barbadians, particularly people who have paid the ultimate price, in order to be able to deal with this medicinal cannabis industry in a way that empowers and enfranchises as many of our people. We may not always get everything right, but the reason why these sessions exist is for you to share with us and equally to bring to our attention things that need a little better here, a little better there, a little better there. And I feel, as the AG knows, that this engagement is really one of the best parts of how our democracy must work. And I thank you for your engagement, I thank you for your concerns, and I thank you for keeping us accountable. Roy? Yeah, yeah. You're a very practical man, as the AG is reminding me. But let me also say this. The major problem with the medicinal cannabis industry is going to be not with the display and the distribution and commerce locally. It is going to be in trade, and we are trying to work with the financial institutions, because once you want to go outside of Barbados, you know, the United States of America has perfected the art of protectionism in marijuana, because by making it illegal to cross state boundary, it means, and state borders, it means that nobody can trade in it there. But there are a number of states, I think the last time I checked it was 33 or 34 states for which it is legal. In some instances medicinal, in some instances medicinal and recreational. But if you try to trade in it, or if any of their banks try to trade in it, AG would tell you, crime. The Canadian banks, however, are obviously different. But very often banks would transfer through other banks too. So we have to find a way where the trade can take place in a way that will not put the individual or the country at risk. The other area of opportunity obviously is in pain management clinics, where you incorporate tourism and medicinal cannabis in order to be able to allow people who have very painful conditions to be able to come down here and spend 2-3 months or whatever and be able to have their pain managed in a very careful way, but one that is acknowledged by the medical fraternity as well. Okay? And the number of pain management clinics globally, there's no reason why Barbados, with its mature history in tourism, should not be one of those. That's an example of inland tourism, by the way, that can work. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Yes, that's what we can do now. Having gone through all of tonight's presentations, questions, and such like, I want to make the point that out of the last St. John Speaks, there were actually 35 submissions from the mic. Sorry, 41 submissions from the mic. What happens afterward is that we go back through the videos, we go through the notes that are taken at the desk, and we call every person either from my office or from the individual ministry or department. And I don't want to show this even though I have it in my hand, because the Prime Minister has cut everybody's budget, every ministry, every department's budget for printing. But I needed to print this since I couldn't hold the computer and let you see it. And we compile a spreadsheet of every single thing that is said, what the response is here, what is the instructions given, and then how they are followed afterward. So it is a very methodical process to make sure that we don't give you the impression we are talking to you for the sake of talking to you. But we are speaking with you, we are having conversations, and we're trying to solve problems. Everything doesn't get solved immediately, but of these 41, I would say at least 70% have had contact and have had solutions or started the process of solution. A large part of the problems, the challenges last time related to agriculture, and I have made the minister, the permanent secretary, and their team miserable over the past year. So I have from them an account of every single person who raised an agricultural concern and what is the status of it. That is to say to all of you who spoke tonight that the same thing is going to happen. So you can be assured that there will be responses. Now, in addition to that, what we plan to do with the other Parish Speaks going forward is to present, as much as is possible, some kind of video or photo presentation of what has occurred since the last time we met. And in the area of roads, we have from the Ministry of Transport, Public Works, a short video presentation of their work in St. John over the past year.
The Ministry of Transport, Works and Water Resources has been working to upgrade the road infrastructure in the parish of St. John. Between May 2022 and May 2023, a few projects are in progress and several have been finished.
There was a road impassable at Rosegate. The residents were crying out and complaining. We visited, we saw what was due, which entailed deep excavation, lining with geofabric. We did what we call abutment walls. Abutment walls is the chamber where the water goes through, and those abutment walls contain the water from going or spreading on lands. We did not open the road until 7 weeks after it was started, bearing in mind that we had to get some curing time. So we had Rosegate, and the residents out there is as pleased that a road where they thought would never have been reinstated in the too distant future was done, and it was done in-house by MTW. We went to a road near Cotchington College. They had some drainage problems there where the water was falling off the main road, which is the road that carries you to the Sergeant Street bus route. What we did there is that we did excavation again, filling, compacting, putting in concrete work to form slip and curb and a bunks up now, so that the water that was falling off the road coming down from my Cotchington High School would not go over and cause the problem that it was causing to the residents that live on the Cotchington estates. Small hope, mainly from the time I was a little boy, it was a road maybe only about 16 feet wide. And it was always a concern about accidents happening in that corner. So what we did is that we cut down the rock bluff in that corner to provide a 3-foot wide footpath along with another 30 inches of road space. And the line of sight, you can see it now from by the time you turn by the cowpen bar, you can see where Verdun is, just above in the air.
Pothole patching was done and mill stuff was laid along some community cart roads to improve access to homes.
Milling material was placed at Ashford, Collis Savannah, Sargent Street, and Kendall. We finished Carter's Road, that was done by Infra. We are working now in Malvern. We more or less paused on Malvern because the Water Authority now has to come in and lay fresh water pipes before we can continue the works. This is Edgecliff. What we have done is we've increased the width of the road. We provided a turning bay so that people can get in and out easily. We've also improved the BWA service to the various residents. And we made it so that people that come in after the folks that are here right now, they can tap on to the existing water pipe that's been placed. Going forward, we're looking at doing level road. We're doing a Codrington Road out of what we call concrete, and there are a number of other tennis roads and stuff that we will be doing during the course of this year.
MTWW will continue to work on improving road access and infrastructure within St. John.
Thank you very much. And may I also say thank you to the team at the Ministry of Transport and Works.
And may I add my voice and thanks to them. And the truth is that this is when we are best. When we work with what people want and we deliver and show people what they're getting. And I really want to thank the officers for working with us and encourage other divisions and departments to do the same. So thank you. Everybody get home safely. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a wonderful night.